that was probably the peak of my career.
Yeah, and you beat Mo Farah.
Beat Mo Farah.
Who's won many gold medals in the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It was really good. When you're really fit and it doesn't feel hard at the time. So I wanted to run a qualifying time for the Com Games.
Yeah. Join me, Jonesy, for interviews, recaps, and much more. So tune in, unwind, and get your sporting fix. Hello guys, welcome to the 17th episode of the Sporting Fix and the second interview of the podcast. I'm honoured to be alongside a great athlete. He represented his country in the Commonwealth Games and owns a brilliant world-class clothing sports company, Steigen. It's great to have you along board, Louis.
Thanks,
how are you?
It's a pleasure to be here, mate.
Nah, it's good. You're obviously, people know you for being the owner of Steigen and, of course, representing your country in the Commonwealth Games. I guess I'm happy to go straight into that and the process that led up to that. How was, I guess, the running at that time?
It was pretty intense, actually.
Yeah.
To be honest, the lead up to the Com Games was sort of, when you know that you have a possibility of making it, it's not an opportunity that comes around very often to run in at the MCG in your sort of hometown. Yeah. So there was a fair bit of sort of pressure and intensity around that time. So, but still, I still class it as the best time of my life.
That's good. And like, obviously, as you said, your hometown. Was there a lot of support, I guess, for you being the local boy? Or?
Yeah, a huge amount of support. Obviously, there were sort of probably more expectations on people like Craig Mottram and things like that. But coming from a big family, I had a huge amount of support. So it was really good fun.
And I guess I'll touch base on your family and how you grew up in a town, Camperdown, wasn't it? Yeah,
so I grew up in Geelong and we used to have a farm that we went to on holidays in Camperdown. Yep. And I still work on that farm today.
Really?
And it's sort of, I have a huge passion for the farm. And so I grew up, had 6 sisters, 2 brothers, and what I'd call a tremendous upbringing. Yeah. And Mum and Dad didn't push us in any way in any sporting direction. Yeah. I took up running basically after school. I was becoming really lazy. Yeah. And driving down to the local milk bar. So I better get fit. Yeah. So I went to Veterans on a Wednesday night, of which you participate in sometimes. Yep. So I went down to Veterans and raced against the likes of Jeff Walker, who's still there. And I just thought if I could stick on Jeff Walker for 5K, I was doing well. Oh, and from there, I started winning at Veterans and progressed little bit by little bit. Yep. And then in 2000, I remember sitting at the Olympic Games in Sydney in the stand.
That's so good.
And thinking, was I capable of making the Olympic Games in running? And I remember thinking at the time, probably not. And contemplating doing modern pentathlon, which is... which is a mixture of horse riding, shooting, swimming, running, and fencing. And I thought I'd be pretty good at that. Yep. But in 2000, I had a major operation on one of my arteries, which set me back a few years. Yeah. And when I came back from that, I progressively got better and better, and to the point where I thought I was a real chance of being an international athlete. Yeah. It was a good progression.
Absolutely. It must have been good, like 2000, you were in Sydney, and then 6 years later, you ended up
that's right. Yeah.
It must have been a dream come true.
It was a dream come true. I remember to this day, like walking down the, down from Federation Square to the MCG with my brother Marty. Yep. And just looking over at the MCG, thinking I'll be running there tonight.
Insane. And packed house.
And, as a kid, I dreamt of playing cricket there. Yep. I didn't think I'd be running, but it was sort of all my dreams come true that night. Well,
as a kid, were you you were into sport, or were you?
I was into sport, played a little bit of footy. Then I played cricket.
Yep.
And then that sort of died out, and I just I struggled at school a bit. I didn't like school much, so I did do some athletics at school, but often didn't get selected for the team.
Yeah.
But looking back on it now, I wasn't training like probably some other kids were.
Yeah.
I was more just doing it for a bit of fun.
Talking about training, when you were competing in the Commonwealth Games, what was the training like in that time for you personally?
Yeah, look, it was full on.
Yeah.
Twice a day, Pilates, physios, massages, weights.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things.
So how many hours
swimming.
do you reckon involved?
It was pretty full time.
Yeah.
It was probably 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day. Yeah. And it was something I'm definitely not used to, but at the time, extremely focused on just perfecting it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. When you were in running, you mentioned about the challenges beforehand with did you have any injuries growing up, or was it more, I guess?
Probably that operation was the big one. So I had what's called a decompressed artery. And so from the time I was born, my diaphragm had grown over my celiac artery.
Okay.
And so that meant that there wasn't much blood getting to my stomach.
Yeah.
So when I would run a 10K, I'd get extremely sick.
Oh, like nausea.
Yeah, like really bad pains in the tummy. And I remember running the Rip to River one year and just lying in bed for the rest of the day.
Really? And how did that not put you off running? How did you just keep going?
I just loved it, really. I loved the thrill of beating people.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I remember I won at Stall one year, and afterwards, we went out for dinner to celebrate, and I just said I just need a Panadol because I was that crook from...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough that... Chris Bradshaw, who was the doctor, he picked it up. Went to Olympic Park Sports Medicine Clinic, and he sent me out for a run, brought me back in, and he said, I think I can hear the blood circulating back on itself.
Wow.
So from there I went to the Alfred for an angiogram, and they said, your artery's 99% blocked. So
So were you like this close to...
No, it didn't affect me other than... So you have two other backup arteries to your stomach.
Yeah.
But when I did intense exercise, your blood goes to your outer extremities,
and you felt
to your
effects.
muscles, and that's when I really felt it. So when I had that fixed, which was a huge operation, it took me a year just to get back jogging.
Wow.
When I went jogging, it was very scary because I had a heart rate monitor on, and my max heart rate was before the operation was about 192.
Wow. And
after was 240, about 245.
And that would have been, I guess, a worrying time.
Yeah, I thought my heart was going to explode.
Really?
And so I went for some tests at the hospital. They put me on an exercise test, and they said it's working fine. You don't have to worry. So I just pressed on, and everything was good.
That's a really interesting
story.
So
in some ways, I think my heart was trying to pump blood.
Yeah.
And then when it was released, it gave me... I think it probably helped my running.
Yeah. And that was only a few years, I guess, before 2006?
Yeah. I had the operation in 2000.
Yep.
And it took me about 2 years to get back running properly.
Yeah. And then you've got the 4 years before.
And then the 4 years leading up.
Which...
gradually got better and better.
Is it a long time, 4 years? It doesn't seem like it's...
It's not a lot of time. No. No, it's not a lot of time. And I probably wasn't training like an Olympian.
Yeah.
I was sort of new to it.
Fair enough. So, when you've, I guess, had your heart that...
Yeah. So I've never experienced hard training like...
Yeah. Well, you mentioned like you had a massive passion for running. Where did that come from? Like... Were you growing up in a...
I suppose like I said, school was pretty tough for me, and I probably couldn't really find my place.
Yeah.
And for some reason I found it in running, and that brought on a passion for it. Was a way of expressing myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And no, that's good. Yeah, mental strategies
Yep.
in running, were there any tactics that you followed to, I guess, keep success going, or did you focus on, I guess, the tactics that other opponents used against you? Or was it more focusing on yourself?
Yeah, like I said, I was running to kind of express myself and what I had inside of me.
Yeah.
And I thrived on that. So maybe I'm a little bit different to a lot of athletes, but I could see the fear and in my opponents that they were kind of looking for ways to lose.
Yeah.
And that gave me a bit more strength. So I remember going into many call rooms and you'd see people looking at each other thinking, that guy looks fit, or, I can't beat him.
Yeah.
Looking for ways to lose. But I always went in there looking into their eyes thinking, I'm gonna
it's a perfect mindset.
Yeah.
And you're a coach now, obviously.
I'm a coach
running,
now, yeah.
Do you just keep that up as well with
coaching has been off and on. I've coached a few people in the past, but as Steigen grew, I didn't quite have the time to coach. And generally, I'm a bit unique in my mindset towards running, and some people don't really gel with that, which is fine. But coaching is, some coaches aren't for certain people, and that's fine. But so I did sort of put it on the back burner for a bit, and then a lady I coached, Sue Howell, she was sort of came when I had a bigger group of runners, and she's got the best mindset and the best loyalty that I've experienced in an athlete. Yeah. So she just stuck by me, even though I, didn't have a bigger group, and
that's good.
She's had really good success. Yeah. And from that, now there's a few more that I coach because I have a bit more time.
Yeah.
And,
And I guess if she's stuck by your side, you must have things in common. Like, you're both positive?
Oh, somewhat. We have a few, we have a few good talks out on the training path. But look, I suppose she's a pretty organised person. Yeah. I'm not so organised. So like her strengths and my strengths are different, but they come together really well and work well. Yeah. And I still do a little bit with my old coach, Jamie Werner. Yep. He's got a good group of runners, and I love following their career paths, their running careers, and help them out from time to time. Yeah.
I mean, you've done so many runs throughout your career. You're so passionate about it. Was there a fondest running memory that you had?
My fondest running memory is probably my PB in Hobart in the 5K. Yeah. I love Tasmania as a state. I'd move there if I could. And, I love it. And so, but my fondest memory is probably the 5K in Hobart. Yeah. Mo Farah was in that race.
Was he?
Yeah. So, subsequently beating him was a good thing. But that night I remember looking back thinking I was unbeatable. I thought that was probably the peak of my career.
Yeah, and you beat Mo Farah.
Farah.
Who's won many gold medals in the Olympic Games. Yeah. How did that feel?
It was really good. When you're really fit, and it doesn't feel hard at the time. So I wanted to run a qualifying time for the Com Games. Yeah. We were probably under that time. The pace wasn't really on. And I remember a K to go, my coach yelling to me, you've got to run 2:35 for the last K, and so I just went for it. Yeah, and and end up qualifying. Yeah, ran that, and it's just a really nice feeling. Yeah. So, but then, other than that, funnily enough, one of my other fondest memories is running a pro race in Burnie.
Where's Burnie?
Burnie's at the top of Tasmania.
Oh, okay.
And they have a carnival over New Year's. Yep. And I've still got a recording of, it was on the radio, and it was a call of the race, and my mum and dad were listening in Lawn at the time. They could pick up the radio from Tasmania.
Really? Listening
live,
to you running? Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a really good thing. And
they could keep in touch, I guess, from another place as well.
Yeah, so it's that's a good memory, and just even listening to that recording now gives me good memories.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, your favourite memory that you had, was there a favourite race? Would it be that Tassie one? Or?
It's probably that Tassie one, to be honest.
And then, I guess the atmosphere, would that have been Commonwealth Games with the most people, or was there a better atmosphere?
No, definitely the Commonwealth Games, but I suppose having not run so well there, I mean, I went in knowing that I wasn't 100%.
Yep.
And so I did make it, and I was clear on that I wanted to make the most of it and enjoy it the best I could.
I guess the environment, the village.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the village a bit?
So the village was, obviously I'd never travelled for athletics before, so it was all new to me.
Yeah.
And so the village was great atmosphere. It was all beautifully done, and huge food halls and all that sort of stuff. And I remember my brother Marty saying, I'd love to go in and experience the athletes' village. And I said, just take me ID and the Australian kit.
Gave him the kit.
Put it on.
And then he goes.
And he waltzed on through the security.
And they let him in?
Let him in. He sat down and had a meal.
And, with the athletes?
With the athletes.
Wow.
And someone said, here you go, mate. He said, I'd rather not talk about it.
Louis Rowan in disguise.
So hadn't gone too well, but he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And, it was a good experience, and I met the Tanzanian team were there, and I had a bit to do with them prior to the Com Games at a training camp in Runaway Bay. Yep. And they invited me to Tanzania to train. I never got to go there, but it was nice to meet those people, and it was really good.
Was there anything, I guess, different compared to, I guess, Australian tactics or environment? I mean, I know you didn't go to the Tanzanian place, but with the athletes, they were all invited.
Yeah, so I was training at Landy Field leading up to the Com Games, and this is something I've learned, and I try and, as a coach, try and give to my athletes, but you kind of don't realise what you're capable of. So, at the 2000 Olympics, sitting there in the stands thinking I can't make the Olympics, to, making the Com Games thinking I can easily make the Olympics.
Yeah.
And so you're not fully aware of what you can achieve. And so, it's... I've lost my train of thought.
Sorry. That's fine.
What were we talking about?
So what about, you mentioned the village and all the stories. You would have, gathered good connections with other athletes as well in the Aussie team?
A few good connections. Yeah. It's not as good as what you would imagine, though. Okay. It's a very intense environment. People are trying to win gold medals, trying to run their best.
Yeah.
So it's not a real social...
Yeah.
Until after your race. Yeah. So
what athletes were there, if you can remember?
So Craig was there, and Craig, I was in Craig's race, and there was an enormous amount of media around Craig.
Yeah.
And so I had qualified for the 15 and the 5K, and Craig had qualified for the 15 and the 5K.
So in his races both?
He was in both, and I was probably... I would have liked to have run the 1500, but Mark Fountain and my roommate Jeremy Roth, they were in the 15 as well. So they had just qualified for the 15. There was only 3 spots, so I basically got pushed to the 5K, and which was okay. I didn't really have a problem with that at all. In hindsight, I was probably a 5K runner.
Yeah.
But I just hadn't really trained for a 5K.
Yeah.
And so, there was a lot of media around Craig. So...
Was that good for you? Did you flying?
I don't like that sort of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did he handle it? I don't know.
Look, I think he did exceptionally well. He ran the 15 and obviously fell over in the 15, and things didn't pan out the way they probably should have for him. And then the 5K was, something that he could, like a way of making good what, so there was a huge amount of pressure on him in the 5K, and he ran exceptionally well, and they finished in 12:55, which is pretty super fast race. And I remember I was shocked how fast the race was. To be honest, it was on right from the word go. And I wasn't in it for very long, to be honest.
No, that's fine. When you were a kid again, like leading to the Commonwealth Games, that whole time period, was there an idol that you had growing up, whether it was a runner or non-runner? Was there someone you really looked up to that helped?
Not really. I suppose when I started running, my grandfather was a bit of an idol for me, even though I'd never met him. In our family, he was always someone very sporting. He ran as a junior and ran for Australia in a cross-country team in New Zealand, and he's just a very sporting guy. He played golf. He won 22 Geelong championships. He was off +3. He was a really good golfer, and I probably looked up to him even though I didn't really know him.
Well, that's pretty special, I guess.
So, but in terms of, might sound a bit strange, but my idols were horses. I loved horse racing.
Yeah.
And I just was entrenched in horse racing. I loved it so much, and it's basically the same discipline as what I'm doing, running and racing, and I really admired what they did,
and you can, I guess, talk about life away from the track and to the horses. What actually got you interested in the horses? So the farm in Camperdown was owned by my mum's uncle, my great uncle, and he loved horses. And so growing up, we were always sort of around them and going to the races, and he'd be having big bets on them and stuff like this, and it was just always something exciting. So and my dad loves horse racing as well. And I remember going to Rose Hill. My dad lived close to Rose Hill in Sydney. Going over to the races with him as a kid, going down to the May Carnival in Warrnambool as a kid with him. So it's just always been something that's nice in my life. Growing up.
And so, we just got involved, and still sort of involved.
No, that's good. Do you have any horses?
We do. Still have a few horses at the farm, and we've bred a few horses, and it's sort of winding back a little bit. But
I guess it was a few years ago where it was, I guess you were racing. Did you have any horses that were racing?
Yeah, we do race horses at and now I have a few smaller shares in some horses, but we do breed some and race some. We don't have a lot of luck with them, but they do bring a lot of joy when they win. So,
are there any good stories? You're a good storyteller. You got some good stories?
I don't know. There's no good story.
Any with the horses?
No. Well, there is one occasion when we were kids. Octagonal was a horse that was around that time. And he was kind of our idol, Marty, my brother, and I. And he was having his last race in Sydney. And they had a competition on of who could make the best banner for Octagonal's last race. And so we went to work on making a banner.
Wow.
And we made a big banner of Octagonal, and we ended up winning a trip to Hong Kong.
Wow. And, I was going to ask about the prize, Hong Kong.
So we won trip for 2 to Hong Kong, and we met the Ingham brothers and John Hawkes. And Simon O'Donnell had us on the racing show, and it was a great experience. For us.
That's awesome. I think we want to get to Steigen. I guess we'll talk about Steigen. I've got some merchandise here actually for you. I've got some socks. So you've probably seen this before. It's a worldwide brand. They're very good socks. I've got the Canyon ones on here. I've got the singlet here.
Yes.
I guess this singlet is so light and perfect. Is there any technology involved with making them so perfect, I guess?
Yeah, I suppose Steigen was sort of created out of my running. So at the Com Games, I bulged 2 discs in my back and lost feeling in my leg and tried to come back unsuccessfully. And
that would have been a tough time.
It was very tough, and I desperately wanted to stay involved, having not raced that much.
And that's so that's how Steigen.
So that's how Steigen started, and I was a bit disappointed with how athletes were treated, and the opportunities weren't there for athletes that they where they should be. So I thought, well, I can sit back and just whinge about it, or I can do something about it.
Yeah.
So I started Steigen.
Yep.
I wanted it to be Nike.
Yeah.
But, I still want it to be Nike.
Yeah,
I still want it to be
absolutely.
bigger than Nike, but you start small and
Yeah.
get bigger and bigger, and so a lot of it's based on what I experienced as a runner and what I feel I would have liked to run in.
Yeah. And I guess a lot of people have jumped on board with
Yeah. So, you often see bigger brands like Nike put out products for Olympians, but not for the everyday runner.
Yeah.
And I can't understand that.
It needs to be
Why?
fair.
Yeah, like why can't someone who runs a park run in the same kit as
and
the best? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So and socks was obviously a big one at the time because a lot of big brands don't care about socks.
I know a lot of companies and businesses always sell these. I mean, you look everywhere around Geelong and there's always, I guess, Steigen.
Yeah, there is, So the socks are based on good quality fibres and a good fitting sock, like a nice hugging fit.
Yeah.
And when you wear spikes on the track, you need them to be really nice and tight.
Yeah.
So you don't want a thick sock.
Yeah.
You want them to be nice and thin.
You've put a lot of effort and thought into it. And actually, I'm thinking of it as you say. It's really smart.
So, and even as a trail runner or a fun runner, the looser your shoe is, the more movement you have inside your shoe, and then the more heat you create by the movement. So you want your shoe to be nice and tight. You want your shoe to be doing the cushioning, not your sock. And so that's how they came about. The singlet there, it's about 39 grams. It's, you
wouldn't feel it if it's
on a hot day, you'd rather not wear a singlet, but it's not always a good look not wearing a singlet. So if you can have something on that's...
If you have this on, it's almost like your bare
correct.
shirt.
Yeah,
so
and also there's a lot of what I would call nonsense talk about, say like I think dry fit is a bit of nonsense because what dry fit suggests is that it keeps you dry. Well, that's good if you're at a business meeting, but if you're playing sport, the sweat is doing the role that it should do, which is keeping you cool.
Yes.
So you don't want to draw that off your body.
Yeah.
That's just going to dehydrate you.
Yeah.
So that's what the singlet's based on is not drawing off the sweat.
Yeah.
Keeping it where it should be on your skin, keeping you cool.
So there is a lot to it.
There is.
Which is I think a good thing about you and Steigen is that you acknowledge not just high athletes but people that take running casually.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect how there's fairness across the board.
Like someone's goal might be to win Olympic gold, but someone who just wants to compete locally, or they're still trying their hardest.
Yeah.
They're still dedicated to what they're doing, and I don't think that equipment should really be just solely for the elite.
Yeah.
It should be available to everyone.
And the fact that it is it's perfect. I mean, you don't really see, like Nike, there is availability to people who do casual running, but I guess the quality is offered more to the high athletes.
Yeah, you do. You often see, at the Olympics, you see products that aren't available, which is fine. But, I think generally speaking that's, it should be available to people. And sometimes, like, there's like what I would call like an average garment that people like to sell.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anyone's average. I think everyone is special.
Yeah.
Everyone deserves to feel good about themselves and to wear the best if they want to.
Yeah.
And if they want to buy an average garment, that's fine. But I just Steigen for me is a way of giving people access to the best.
Yeah.
And I take pride in what we produce.
Yeah, absolutely.
And make sure our customers are happy.
The socks, was that the first thing produced?
The socks were one of the first things produced. Look, I did try a lot of garments. Like, I didn't intentionally think socks were going to be our biggest product.
Mm-hmm.
I did try a lot of garments, but obviously they weren't at the level that I would like them to be.
Yeah.
So
you set the bars and the standards.
Yeah, so I've got a warehouse full of items that I don't sell because I don't want to sell.
Fair enough.
Because they're not quite at the mark.
Yeah.
And so I did at the start I did go into a fair bit of debt, and it took a long time to get going. Yeah. And a lot of mistakes were made, and but even to this day, I'm still learning a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the struggles with growing the business.
Yeah. There were a lot. Like I said, I went into a lot of debt, and things didn't always pan out the way you'd like them to. So you would you'd get a T-shirt that you thought was really good, and then you'd get the bulk T-shirts that weren't quite the same. So that that's something to be wary of. If you're starting a business, something that I didn't really have any advice from anyone. Yeah. I sort of just did it.
Well, that is actually really impressive.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's a lot of mistakes, a lot of learning from your mistakes, and But I was lucky enough to have good support from my family, and especially my mum and dad. They helped me start it. Yeah. And I was pretty lucky in that way. Yeah. So it's, for me, Steigen is kind of representative of me, and I can't give up on it. Yeah. It's something that I think that's got to see through. And I knew that at the time when I started it, that it wasn't something that I could just give up on. I had to follow through with it. Yeah.
Talking about like the designs, there would have been a lot of trial and error involved with, you make a new design and then it doesn't work. How frustrating would that be?
Yeah, look, very frustrating, but also rewarding when you do get something right. And the socks were something that kind of came right pretty quick, which was great. Yeah. And I could really see the joy and the benefit that they gave to runners. Yeah. So that was great. Some of the other garments, like the pro singlet, we still have our problems with like something so light. People aren't necessarily used to. Yeah. So even this morning, someone trying them on, not realising that it's 39 grams and it's it's
really light,
and it doesn't wear as a normal
be a bit
singlet.
Loose, but again, it'll suit some people, suit others.
Yeah. So but it's trial and error, and I'm really proud of the stuff we sell, and I make sure that our customers are number one, because that's the most important, that they know that we're going to stand by our product and look after them if they purchase from us.
Yeah. What do you think the key was to make it so successful?
The key to making it successful was to stand by your product, as in you produce a product that is good, and that you don't try and flog off things that aren't at the level that they should be.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you go travelling promoting the business.
Yes.
Where do you go?
Yeah, so we were lucky enough to have people, my good friend Torbjorn, he's in Norway, and he was our first distributor overseas. So, he's a terrific guy, Torb, and I have a real connection with him. And even though I'd never met him, he rang me and said, I want to sell your socks in Norway.
That is good.
And I said,
was he the one that said, I want to?
So he contacted us. Yeah.
Wow.
So we thought, this is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. We get to sell our socks in Norway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did it, and he did an amazing job.
Yeah, so it was a hit?
It was a hit there, and he that was many years ago now, but we're the official sock supplier to the Oslo Marathon, and last year we made socks for BMW in Norway.
Oh, okay.
And they're the major sponsor of the Oslo Marathon, and we made BMW socks, and Torb's just been tremendous for us. And from there, we kind of, I'm not really sure how, but we just reached out and got more and more distributors. So we're in about 23 countries now.
Wow.
And
would you have ever thought?
I never thought we would be selling socks and singlets to Thailand and Brazil and Chile.
That's
and,
so good. And for it to be so successful over there too, not just in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, we set up in expos and we get people from Brazil coming over saying, these are amazing, and that's a really good feeling when you see people loving your product. Yeah.
So it was the socks you said first, and then what was it that sort of came about? Was it then the singlets or?
Yes, it was just we do make a number of garments. People might not know, but we make t-shirts, tracksuit pants, singlets, hoodies, jackets,
caps,
running shorts, caps. So there's lots of tri-suits, cycling gear. We do make a lot of stuff, but I do try and keep it pretty limited. I don't mass produce it, and it's more of a sort of unique,
like a methodical,
high quality
way,
thing. Yeah, so I mean, socks are still 90% of our business.
So. I think it's better. Like you know how the big companies mass produce, as you said, the fact that you make quality running clothing, and I guess for people.
Yeah, and I know I have a really good relationship with our factory.
Yeah.
I know them personally. Yep. I know, they're just a team of 5 or 6 people that I have a good relationship with. So I know they're not like mass produced in a huge factory.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so it's really good. So that's important to me that they are looked after as well.
Yeah.
So
that's surprising. It's not as many people as I was expecting. I guess that's good for you. It's
good. It's good. It means that we have good relationships and we can produce some pretty unique stuff just at the drop of a hat. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think sets you apart from other running businesses?
Look, I think we're probably athlete focused rather than just sort of like there's a lot of what I would call casual wear and things, with the bigger brands. They produce a lot of casual wear where we're probably athlete focused. So that, and mainly, I pride ourselves on customer service. Yeah. So that's important to me. So, sorry. So I think that sets us apart a bit. Yeah.
And the name Steigen, it's a unique name. Yep. Where did that originate from?
So Steigen I was learning German.
Okay.
And I came across the word Steigen.
Yep.
And I thought, that's a nice sort of word. And it means to rise up or to climb up or to, ascend. So I thought, that sounds like a nice...
sums you up perfectly.
Yeah, it's a nice...
your mindset and everything.
Yeah, so, and Steigen's a little town in Norway as well.
Oh, it's a town,
Yeah, so, I don't know, just sort of came across as a nice word.
It is.
So, what we were about. So,
And the logo's good.
The logo,
there's not a lot to fault about it.
So,
And do you enjoy travelling and obviously promoting the business?
Yeah, look, it's taken me to a lot of places and a lot of travelling. And early on, I kind of got a bit lucky in some ways, and I actually had a lady contact me from America.
Yeah,
this was early on, and she said, "Would you sponsor some socks for our end of year party or trip?" And I said, "Yeah, why not? You're in America. I'll get you some socks." So I sent her some socks, and I didn't realise that she was part of the NBA end of year season.
Wow,
golf trip. So so. We actually ended up making socks for Julius Erving, the Julius Erving golf trip, and I actually got to go to Las Vegas and play in a week-long. I did it twice actually, and I played in a week-long golf trip, NBA end of year season trip
while promoting it.
Yeah, so there was like red carpet and there was like Magic Johnson and all these people
all
there.
The big names.
Yeah, the big names were there, and we just got lucky, I suppose. Yeah. So
would that have been your favourite trip if you're going away? Telling everyone,
it's a pretty good trip, those trips, and we had a lot of fun. And but it's I've been to Tokyo Marathon, Oslo Marathon. I've been in the early days. We set up a house in Colorado where we stayed there for a while, and a guy who was working for me, Dom, he lived there for I think he lived there for about a year. Yeah, right. So it was like great opportunities.
Yeah. Well, I guess if anybody wants to purchase any Steigen merchandise, go to the website.
Absolutely, I should give you a coupon code.
Yeah. I'm sure this logo, the name is very recognisable, so I'm sure that many people have heard of it. It's very, very good quality clothing.
Yeah.
So jump on board, go ahead. I think moving away from Steigen and going back to why you made it, it was about the way you felt with athletics and the controversy. Elaborate on.
Yeah, so I mean, running's a very individual sport, and sometimes people, which I definitely felt like, I didn't come from an athletics background, and I found it very difficult to connect with anyone.
Yeah,
and I can pretty much say no one really contacted me from any organisation until I made the Commonwealth Games.
Really, that's sad.
So it's not a good. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for people with good talent to have no direction.
And I think that just goes to show the culture, I guess. The fact that they wait until you've made it to the big time and then go after.
Yeah, that's right.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah, so it's I got in the VIS after I made the Commonwealth Games, and it was just, I didn't like it. You obviously don't get paid. Which I didn't care so much at the time, which a lot of athletes don't care. But
I think to make it to the big time, if you look at like the training involved, you deserve a bit of coin.
You do. Like, and on reflection, and you look at, I ran in front of 92,000 people who would have paid good money
for the tickets. The athletes that they pay the ticket to watch the athletes. They get nothing.
They get nothing. And the Olympic Games is even worse. The Olympic Games is, I think, one of the biggest telecast rights on the planet. And the performers don't get anything.
Why do you think that is? Is that just
I think it's a culture thing that it's an honour to represent your country. Yeah, and it is. Mm-hmm. And I think that the system plays on that to kind of abuse it a bit, and
take advantage of it.
Take advantage of the athletes and what they're actually doing to get there. And I think it's detrimental to the sport personally, because it's holding the sport back, because you'll get someone with really good talent who has a future in AFL or has a future in another sport that's going to pay them
big money,
a career.
And they'll go to that instead of the running.
That's right. And so, I don't think athletics offers you a career as such. It is getting a little bit better, but still nowhere near what it should be. Yep. So I was annoyed at that, and I thought, well, I will start Steigen, and I would like to put on some meets for prize money. Yep, that's smart. Because for me, it's a way of giving juniors a pathway to success and a pathway to glory, to be heroes of the next generation coming through. So I think, you see all these sports, like I love athletics. I think it's the greatest sport on earth. Yeah. People always say, soccer's the most participated sport, but running is.
You see people
everyone runs.
Walking all the time. You don't see people kicking a soccer ball on the park.
Yeah, running is the most natural sport there is. Yes. And, everyone can participate. Yeah. And it's just held back by that lack of what I would call money. That
and the greed, I guess.
Yeah, and so there is a greed at the top, and that holds people back. And there's also a large amount of what I'd call like silliness that goes with it. You know, in when you're going into the call room and people are putting tape on you like over logos and stuff. It's really silly.
What is the point of that?
So, you know, and it's like it's costing athletes a career.
Yes.
So, you know, I remember Craig was in my race, and Craig was sponsored by Nike at the time, and they're putting tape on his socks and on his
covering up the
Nike tip.
Who was that? The athletics in general.
That's the rules around the athletes and the officials, and I think Athletics Australia's team was made by Diodora at the time, and so really, you know, what's Nike going to offer Craig when he's wearing Diodora on his grand final? You know, like when he's running in the Com Games at the MCG and he's wearing Diodora, it's not a good look.
No, it's not.
And so that alone is costing him a lot of money.
Yeah.
And all for the sake of Athletics Australia getting a uniform. And I don't think that's worth it.
No.
You know, so
I think, I agree with that.
I really do believe in the freedom to wear your own sponsored gear.
And I mean, talking about that, how that, you know, the fact that I guess the athletes aren't really rewarded for the fact that they've spent their whole life making it to the top stage, and the fact that they're not rewarded, you said that'll, you know, decrease.
It flows down, definitely.
Like, what do you think the future is of running?
Well, I do believe that it can change.
Yeah.
That's why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And I do believe it can change. I always put it out there, and I'm happy for someone to do it. But I always said, like, if someone like Nike put on a 1,500 metre race for $1 million on the same night as the Olympic final, 1,500, they would change athletics.
Yes.
Because people would say, why aren't the best runners running at the Olympics?
Exactly.
Because it already happens in the marathon. You get a lot of Africans who are elite marathon runners who would rather win London, New York, Boston over the Olympics because they get
reward.
They get reward.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting big money for.
Do you think that running? Well, it would have to be one of the sports that you put so much effort in for, I guess, little return. Do you think
very little return and not enough to make a career out of? That's for sure. Unless you're at the very top.
Yeah.
But you know, I sometimes use Usain Bolt as an example. Usain Bolt was sponsored by Puma, and Puma sponsored the Jamaican team, which was great.
Yeah. But,
you know, I think Usain Bolt was on about 8 million. But Usain Bolt at the time was, I would say, probably, you know, the elite athlete on the globe.
Well, was he the fastest at the time? Was that before?
Yeah. No, at the time, he was the fastest for many, many years. But then you get an elite basketballer that's not on 8 million, on 350 million.
I mean, you get a kicker in the NFL who are the most useless person on the field. The only reason they go on the field is to kick.
Yeah.
And they get paid 12 mil a year. Yeah. I agree with you. I think you put that into perspective perfectly, actually.
Yeah, like Usain Bolt is like the pinnacle of
sport.
I mean,
I reckon he's more influential than Ronaldo or, you know, the big...
like everyone, at the time of the Olympics, everybody knew Usain Bolt.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Even people that didn't follow running, they knew Usain Bolt because he's the quickest. And for him to only get 8 mil, I think it's a bit of a scam.
I mean, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot, but for what he deserves, the effort that he put in, and now he's at soccer. He left running and went to soccer, and he'd probably be on more money doing
And the
that.
thing is that the person next in line under Bolt, they won't. They're probably on 1 million, not even that.
No.
Like it's a huge drop off. So the person who makes the Olympics, and you know, they're lucky to make it. You know, that's what they say. They're not getting anything.
No,
and
they're just showing up.
Yeah, they're just showing, and it's not representative of the effort they've put in.
Yeah,
they do deserve.
And obviously, a medal's great if you make the podium. That's a good reward, but I think I agree with you perfectly.
Yeah. So that's that's why I did
Yep.
Steigen, and because I wanted to put on races that
It's a
were
good story.
worth money.
Yeah.
And I put on the Steigen Spectacular, which was a race we did.
Yeah.
We've done that for a few years.
Is it a yearly thing?
It was a yearly thing, but COVID sort of
Yeah.
put a stop to it for a while. But
Mm.
I do intend on bringing it back.
Yeah.
And
What did that consist of?
so basically, every it was basically an athletic meet that gave prize money. That was the most important thing
Yep.
to the athletes,
Mm-hmm.
and
It would attract more people.
attracts more people, and giving them prize money. And then I did have the concept of the #1 race.
Mm.
The #1 race, which I'm wanting to develop, is a race. It's an elimination race,
Yep.
and it's a 3K, a mile, an 800, and a 400,
Mhm.
and it consists of half the field getting eliminated each race.
Yep.
10 minutes in between, and before this goes ahead, there's an athlete draft,
Yeah.
and so every athlete that gets drafted gets $100
Yeah.
for being drafted, and then
So it's a reward for that.
reward
also.
just for
I think
getting
that's
just
good.
for participating,
Yeah.
rather than paying entry. And,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That's really good.
it's tough as we're still a small
Yeah.
business, but it's we're trying to build it more and
Mm.
more. So yeah.
And speaking of, I guess, miles, you mentioned that you hold a mile record in the Vic Milers. How long's that been standing for?
Yeah, so the Vic Milers Club basically started back after a long break
Yep.
in about 2005,
Mm.
and I ran the first race that came back, and ran about 3:41 in that race, which is the third fastest, and
Yep.
then the second race I ran 3:40.00, which was a bit controversial at the time because
Oh boy, what's happened to you?
no, well, just the Commonwealth qualifying time was 3:40.00,
Yeah.
and
Did
the
you make
Milers
it?
Club held this 1,500 metre race, and it was hand timed. So to this day, I still believe I ran
Yeah.
3:38 or
Yeah.
something, but it was all rounded up,
Yes.
and so they gave me 3:40.00.
And
But
was
it still
3:40.00?
qualified me.
So you did qualify.
Yeah, so 3:40.01 wouldn't have qualified me.
Yeah.
But 3:40.00 did.
So if they click the stopwatch a millisecond
No,
later-
well, it was all rounded up. So,
Okay.
yeah. But that record still stands at Milers Club.
How long's it been standing for?
It's about 18 years.
18
So,
years.
Yeah.
That is a long time.
So I still go to Milers Club and watch
Yeah.
a lot of the runners, and So
yeah. So I guess people would be trying to beat that record. They've been trying to beat that record for 18 years.
Yeah.
How does it feel that it's still standing?
look, it's nice to go there and hold the record,
Yeah.
but it will get beaten for sure at some stage.
Mm.
There are a lot of guys running a lot quicker than that now, but it is hard to run that time at a Box Hill or somewhere,
Yeah.
not on a big stage, not in a big race that's paced, and
Mm.
so it is hard to run it on your own
Yeah.
locally.
Yep.
So I suppose that's why it stood for a long time.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, there's plenty of guys that could beat that record, but it's got to come together. And being a local event, it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
So those guys, take for instance this year, Paris Olympics on.
Yep.
They're going for that. It's kind of not their focus. Milers Club wouldn't be their focus.
Yeah.
But for me at the time, because the Com Games were local, that
Yep.
was all I had
Yeah.
to qualify.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't get an opportunity to travel overseas and run faster times and things like that. Yeah.
With all the races that you've done, were there any superstitions that you had? Whether I don't know, you listened to music or a little, I don't know, little thing that before a race that you did?
Yeah, look, I mean, my coach would probably be able to tell you more about me
Yeah.
than I. he put up with me. So,
Yeah. For how long?
for a while,
Yeah.
and so I would always be pretty pedantic about the way I went about things.
Yeah.
I always made sure I didn't have too much food inside of me, and
Speaking of diet, what was that like?
look,
the
my
nutrition?
diet wasn't great.
No.
It definitely wasn't an athlete's diet.
Shane Warne, he didn't have a good diet.
No, mine was pretty bad. I did eat a lot of fast food and
Oh, yeah.
stuff, but on race day and the day before race day,
Yeah.
I was very strict,
Mm.
and I didn't. Yeah, it was always about making me the lightest I could be.
Yep.
I didn't want to carry any extra that I had to.
So if you look back now, would you change anything? Like if you were, would you change anything if you look back on?
I would. I think I would change I was kind of caught in a situation where there was pressure to make the Com Games.
Yeah.
I probably would have taken a step back and looked at what I had to offer long term rather than just at that time.
Yeah. There was a lot of pressure on you. How did you handle that?
I was okay until later when I did injure myself.
Yeah.
And there was still pressure on me. I struggled a little bit with that. I mean,
Did
I went into
people
the
know
Com
that?
Games knowing I wasn't. I suspected I wasn't at my peak.
Yep.
Because of my back.
Yep.
And
the journey to get there too, it wasn't the smoothest.
No, and it was significant to make it. And I wasn't taking anyone's spot. I knew that.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel bad in that way.
Yeah.
But I knew I wasn't at my peak. And when I was really a 1,500 metre runner. And when I made the 5K, I thought, I'll do a few more Ks. And get a bit fitter, but it didn't work out like that. So I suppose looking long term, like when I help the young guys out today and they get disappointed with a race, I always say, listen, like how long's your career?
Yeah.
Like how many more races have you got?
Exactly.
So just think long term.
Yeah.
You know, your career is never made or lost in one race. You know, some Olympians would argue against that, but it's just the truth. I mean, you look back on your career and you've got to look at it as a whole, not as one particular race. Or
So if you had any tips, Louis, for, I guess, future young athletes, what would you say?
Look, I'd say it might be a bit cliche, but you don't underestimate yourself.
Yeah.
You know, I did a lot of talks for the Weet-Bix Kids Triathlon.
Okay, yeah.
After the Com Games. And one of the things I would say to the kids is put your hand up if you think you can make the Olympics. And only about 2 kids would put their hand up.
Really? How many kids were there?
Out of a school of, 200 kids. And then I'd say, well, put your hand up if you've trained like an Olympian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That all put their hands up?
Yeah, well, because that's just a doubt. Like no one at a school level has trained like an Olympian.
No.
So how do they know they can't make it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's a doubt that's put in our minds from an early age that you're not good enough, or you know. And I've seen a lot of people who I would say have oodles of talent not make it, and I've seen people who I would say don't have much talent make it. And
I guess it's a mental
belief
thing. is
it's
massive.
a mental belief and how much you want it, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing I would say.
Yeah.
You know, unless you've trained like an Olympian, you don't know that you can be one.
Yeah, and I think we hear that all the time. You know, like people underestimate themselves, but I guess no one's really explained why. I think you put that absolutely perfectly.
And as a coach, I often say to my athletes, you know, running is a sequence of movements.
Yeah.
And it's no different to dancing. If you can perfect the movements,
Yeah.
you will run well.
Yeah.
If you can, like, if you see someone on the dance floor and they know how to dance, you can tell they know how to dance.
Yeah.
Right? Because they've done it over and over and over again, and they know what they're doing.
The same with
So,
running.
and it's the same with running. Running is something that we learn from, we teach ourselves. No one says, you know, you often hear people say to primary school kids, oh, he's a runner, or he's not a runner, or he's not.
Just making
But
assumptions.
they've just taught themselves. No one's really taken them through the sequence of movements that makes them a runner.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they can't do it.
It's a good point.
So you can reconstruct someone's movement to be what you want it to be. And that's the most important thing for anyone to understand, that you can change your style. You can change a lot of, if you want to. It's not doesn't always have to come naturally.
Yeah, and is that what you say to, obviously you coach now, is that what you say to the people you coach, and just to keep at it?
So like some people you see with a huge amount of talent and you don't have to teach them that much. It's more a mental thing.
Yeah.
Because often the people that have that talent, everything's come very easily to them. So they probably lack a little bit of toughness. Whereas the people that have done it a bit tougher, and they want to be there because mentally they're telling themselves to be there.
Yeah.
So you might have to work a bit more on their style and on changing their movement, but you can still do it.
And there has to be a trick to like changing someone's mental, I guess, belief, because if someone doesn't believe that they can make it, it must be really tricky. How do you go about that?
It is tough, and I've always been a big believer in what I would call goosebump moments. So moments that give you goosebumps and moments that give you adrenaline and endorphins, and that's what gives me the most joy when I run.
Yeah.
So it's trying to get that to happen for someone else isn't easy. So I often think of ways, and I ask them, what's giving you goosebumps? What's that thought that gives you goosebumps? And I try and replicate that within a run to make them experience that feeling.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Put it like practical, put them into it. Yeah.
Yes. So I believe running's a lot of emotion, and I often give the example of like effort. So I was running against Kenyans and Tanzanians, and they were running for family, and they were running for a lifestyle that could drag them out of poverty.
Yeah. Massive.
And what was I running for? I was running for a gold medal that might sit in my drawer.
Yeah.
And I might be able to pull out and show people. It's very shallow.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of depth in that.
Yeah.
So it's about getting something special out of it. And when someone experiences something emotional, then it becomes extremely powerful. And
it's different for everyone. If someone has a different meaning for running, you have to adapt differently, which is important as well. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
That's right, yeah. So it's hard to extract that out of athletes, but for me, a lot of coaches focus on training, but training's only a very small part of it. The mental side of it and why you're running and what's going to make you run better than your opponent is as important, if not more important.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, I think you've nailed everything today, Louis. I really appreciate you coming on. You mentioned your journey to the Commonwealth Games. You mentioned your childhood. You grew up with
One of nine,
One of nine. In Camperdown.
Yeah.
You love your horses. I think you did everything perfect today, so I really appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing everything that you've been through. So it's really good. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the 17th episode of the Sporting Fix. Great to have Louis Rowan, the owner of Steigen, with us today. So it's brilliant. Get on board, buy a cap, buy something from Steigen. It's awesome. So have a good day.